Hi everyone, welcome to our 6th episode in this series on how to live with Git and Subversion in parallel. Today we're going to look at how we can graft together history that comes from Subversion. Usually when you migrate from Subversion to Git, you want to keep as much of the Subversion history as you can. However, in some cases where you have done some refactoring in your Subversion repository structure and basically moved projects around quite a bit, this can become somewhat of a challenge. There is a very simple technique for this, which is basically when you want to get all this history over to Git, you have to, for each location in the Subversion repository, which a project was ever at, you have to clone a Git repository from that time period, and then end up with a bunch of Git repositories which represents a Subversion project at different points in time, and then you have to basically connect them together using gift grafts to kind of convert them into one repository with the entire Subversion history. So today we are going to continue with our example of this website projects that we have in Subversion. I'm going to just check out the projects again from this local Subversion repository I have. SVN repos company repo, and I believe the project was called website. Okay. So here is our website project, which we have been working on for quite some time, since revision 1 to revision 12. And at this point, the company has decided that they want to do some refactoring in Subversion because their website is going international. So what used to be the old website is now to become the .com website, for instance. So first they're going to just have an empty directory, which they will import into the root of their Subversion repository to represent there's the company repository. Yeah, we're just going to have an empty folder called websites, which is where all the different websites from different, .com, .de, .no, and so forth will go in here. So there's our empty folder, and now we're going to move the old website into website/com. So I'm gonna here's the old website. And the destination for this move will be the same repository, of course, and then company repo website/com. Okay, moved old website into com. Okay, so if we now have a look at what we got inside this repository, just copy this one. We have a com directory inside websites, and inside here is my old website. So, and here comes the tricky part. Hang on a second, let's just take that away. We now want to clone. At this point, we want to start using Git and import or Git+SVN clone this new com website into a Git repository. So I follow the usual format and say Git+SVN clone and then point at the new location in the repository. Just paste that in here. Websites.com. Okay. There we go. I now have this. Let me rather call this move com to website.com. Okay. And here comes the big catch. When we look at this history for this project, we have basically no history. Everything we have are the files, and we've lost all the Subversion history because Git Subversion cloned from this location in Subversion, where there basically wasn't much log to gather beyond the last revision. So what we have to do in these cases is that we have to make another clone. We have to clone the old website first. And the way to do this, you need to have the first and the last revision for when the project existed in Subversion at this point. And we specify this with the -r from 1 to revision 12 or something, I believe it was. Let's just have a look in the Subversion log for the project. Yeah, revision 12 is the last change we did in the project at this last location. So something like this, and then we specify in the URL the old location in the Subversion repository. So company repo website. There we go. We now have this website repository. I'm going to call it website old, just so we don't get confused about that. And in here, we have all the old history that we had from our previous casts up until revision 12. There's a little revision number there. So now comes the grafting part. We have these two repositories. The website com represents the new history, while the website old represent the old history. And we now will have to connect these two together. And the way we do this is that we will take the old one and kind of import it into the new one, or rather we will fetch it into the website com repository. So I'm going to fire up git k all. And now we're going to add the old repository as a remote, git remote add. I'm going to call it old and just point it at the website, old. Okay, and now I'm going to do a fetch from old, basically importing all the information from the old repository into the new one. And I'm going to refresh inside git k and see what kind of information we have here now. Now, please disregard that this looks linear. It is not really linear in Git's sense. This is one repository, which is, or branch, which is disconnected from this one. So Git is unaware that these two are related, or what relation they have. They just happen to be in the same repository. So this we're going to fix now. And the way we do this is by, we're hinting Git, or telling it, which commits belong together. Now, you're probably familiar with Git enough to know about these parent references, where basically each commit or Git object has a parent object represented by this SHA, or SHA code. So what we're going to need is we have to know the parent SHA and the child SHA that we want to connect together. So we start off with the child SHA, copy this one, and we're going to pipe these revisions into a file here which doesn't exist yet, but I'm just going to create it like this. It's called grafts. So here goes the child SHA, and right after we paste in the parent SHA. Okay. Save that, and now we refresh. Ta-da! So now we see that Git has understood that this one has a parent and it should be this one. So now we again have something which looks like a linear history. So this works okay, and I can now continue to work on the new repository, having the old history available. And by the time you want to finalize these graphs, you use a command called git filter branch to set these graphs in stone. I'm not really familiar with the git filter branch command so much, but just running it like this seems to have the effect. although we need to do some cleanup afterwards to get our Git subversion integration working again afterwards. So I'm just going to do Git filter branch. See that Git does some heavy processing here, rewriting the history and fixing things up. I now refresh in Git.K. See that something obviously happened here. We have now this original repository. We have a master branch here up here, which is not the same as our Git subversion head. And of course we have the remotes old. So given that we have already fetched the old repository into this one, set the graft and set the graft and stone, I suppose we can now remove the grafts without any devastating effects. Oh, something happened, but things still look okay up here. We do not need the remote repository old anymore, so we're going to do git remote rm, is it? There we go, and see if we can get rid of that. Yeah, seemed to work. And now we just need to push this remote git subversion pointer to point at the same commit as we have here on top, the master pointer or branch. And this original repository we can probably get rid of as well. So I'm going to do this git update ref, where I take refs remotes Git+SVN and replace it with master. What's it called? Update refs? Yeah, update ref. And see if that worked. Seems to have done the trick. And now get rid of this original repository, which we're just gonna brutally do inside. I think original is like a kind of a backup repository left behind by the filter branch thing. So we don't need it anymore, so we just take it away. There we go. Things are finally starting to look nice and proper in here. And now we're just going to see if our Git subversion integration still works. So I'm going to do Git subversion rebase, which I don't think will work. Yeah, we're getting some unable to determine upstream SVN information from working tree history. This is because the rev map along the way has become a little bit corrupted. And usually doing a little manual cleanup inside the Git+SVN refs remotes Git+SVN folder does the trick. So inside here we have this rev map file, which I'll now try removing. It does the trick sometimes. So let's just try again. Git+SVN rebase. Yeah. Now current branch master is up to date. I can now start Git+SVN decommitting and Git+SVN rebasing just as usual, except that this time I have the entire log. Even though we've refactored in Subversion, we still have all the history remaining. So that shows off grafting pretty well. So thanks for watching and see you next time.